Alright, what's up y'all? Hope you're doing well. Back with another romance anime review. Today we're talking about a show called You Can't Be in a Rom-Com with Your Childhood Friends, released early in the 2026 year. I just finished watching it, and it was definitely a show of all time. We're going to talk about it today. Of course, as always, try to keep the one full video per week thing going on the channel. We're doing that. Had a short drop recently, probably should have another short maybe by early next week. I don't know for sure, but yeah, keeping the content going. You know, I've been doing a lot of stuff with my other channel and all that stuff. So I've kind of, I don't know, my schedule on watching these shows have been kind of weird. But still trying to keep that one video per week going. You guys been liking the content a lot recently, and so you guys keep liking it. I'm gonna keep doing it. I really appreciate all of you, as always, for doing all the things. So yeah, we're gonna keep that going and keep this channel trying to continue to get better. Now let's get fully into this review. So we have You Can't Be in a Rom-Com with Your Childhood Friends. This was one I kind of feel like I know what I was getting into by the thumbnail and the name of the show, obviously, and I kind of understood what I was going to watch, and I watched it. It is definitely a show. It's definitely a show that exists in the world. If you probably could tell by the title, maybe, with everything like that. So it's about basically childhood friends. A bunch of childhood friends, one guy, a bunch of childhood friends getting together, have kind of romantic feelings for each other, the whole nine. Get a lot of stereotypical type things that you see in these type of romance animes. So our main guy that we have is Au. That's, I guess, the nickname they call him, so we're gonna call him Au. He is also a romance fan as well. He reads a lot of romance manga and all that stuff, and consumes a lot of it, which, relatable, obviously. But he goes through the entire show basically with the mindset of like, but that doesn't happen in real life. That's all fiction, right? Like, that childhood friend stuff, that doesn't really happen. Like, what? Are we serious? Well, we're not like some sort of anime or something. And yeah, it's basically his entire mindset throughout the entirety of the show. It's like, but we can't be in a rom-com. This isn't a rom-com. This isn't a rom-com. You can't be in a rom-com with your childhood friends. He said that literally at the end of every episode. And that's kind of the mindset he runs with. And it gets very annoying, we'll say that. The first two girls that we meet, we have Shiho and we have Akari. They are the childhood friends and neighbors. All of them became childhood friends because they were neighbors together and all just hung out as little kids and grew up together in the same houses. For Shiho, first, we see that she's very, bubbly personality, very, kind of like, the main girl, those type of personalities, where she's just very nice and very sweet, but also bubbly. And she also, her and Au, it's like trying to get him flustered. We see that early on in episode 1. She tries to get him flustered and wants to kind of win over his heart because she secretly has a crush on Au, even if she doesn't really fully realize it yet. She kind of understands there's some sort of feeling there. Meanwhile, on the other side, for Akari, we have a tsundere on our hands. She just naturally, she doesn't even like think about like wanting to be a tsundere. She just kind of is one naturally. And you see the different dynamics with the two girls. We see right away what both these girls are and what their role in the story is going to be. But the interesting thing is, both of these girls, they think that Au is very cold. And so like he portrays and comes off as very kind of cold, not very emotional, kind of just like, yeah, whatever. And like all their advances kind of just fall short in their eyes. But what you see in Au, the inside of Au, is that he, like, they actually are moving him. These advances are moving him, and he's kind of very confused throughout a lot of the show of being like, dang, like, do they like me or not? Am I overthinking things? I can't like, kind of being like, I can't like them. I can't see them in that romantic route. I just can't, because they're my childhood friends, and that doesn't happen. And it'll be weird for me to do that. I can't do that. And so he kind of tries to portray himself as like calm and those things don't affect him. And it works apparently for these girls. But the inside, he's kind of freaking out and very kind of like, why are all these things happening? I don't understand. Okay. And so Shio and Akari are both like good friends. Obviously they're all childhood friends. Those two are really good friends. And it feels like for a lot of the first half of the show, they both kind of know that the other one has a crush on Au, but they don't say anything. They don't really figure it out probably till like episode 6 or 7. That wasn't meant. Sorry. And like it just feels kind of like like for a lot of the show, I feel like for everybody, it feels like everybody kind of knows what's happening, but no one ever really says it, and no one ever really like fully, like they kind of have a hint, but they never really fully go into it and fully know. You know, like no one likes to talk things out here. Like especially for these three, it's just like a random mess of triangle of just like, you know, like one of the girls will make a move, and then it looks like something's going somewhere. It looks like progress being made, and then it doesn't get made, and we go back to kind of being like, oh nope, it's not okay. We're just like that's what it is. It's like one time like Shio and Ayu have moments, you know, but then at the end it's kind of like Shio's trying to put y'all on a face for Akari because she's kind of like, no, I don't like him like that. It's just for fun. We're just messing with him or whatever. And then EU takes it all seriously. And then Shio's like, oh, well, dang, maybe he doesn't like me like that because now he's taking it like he doesn't think, you know, and Akari did the same thing. It's like a move, like a little thing happens, and Akari's kind of like, oh, okay. But then to Shio, she's like, no, I hate him. And then EU takes it seriously, and EU, like, it's just, that's really what it is. And again, it feels like Shio and Akari also, in their own heads, they see and they're like, wait, did she have a crush on him? I knew it. But then they talk it out, and it's like, wait, maybe she doesn't. And so it's like, it feels like progress always gonna get made, and then we just kind of come back down to zero all the time. And EU is a big, you know, problem with this too, because he doesn't know how to take a hint. His comprehension skills are very, very low. Like I understand not wanting to jump the gun, not wanting to assume everything, but sometimes like, man, it's right there for you, man. You just gotta put 2 and 2 together and make 4. And he takes 2 and 2 and makes it 0 somehow. It just like he feels like he just can't really take a hint. Like there's so many times where Shio and Akari are like trying to get close to him, and there's like a romantic moment that happens there, and he doesn't really like not understand it, but he turns the opposite way, you know. And he also takes what they say like full on seriousness too, where they're kind of like, oh no, I don't like him like that or whatever. He takes this like to full heart. He's like, well dang, now I'm the weird one for all this. And like it just, for the entirety of the show, even from the beginning to the end, it just feels like he just can't really take hints and can't really read situations. You know, he just kind of like doesn't think at all sometimes. It gets very annoying, honestly, a little. Like, it gets annoying sometimes that he just can't really seem to, you know, figure it out and put things together like that. Seeing the differences in the two girls, where like the relationship with Shiho and EU, it's lots of, you know, teasing, lots of fun things, flustered moments. Like with them, it's very like kind of sweet. You know, it's very kind of like sweet, and it's like, oh man, typical romance anime type stuff where it's like, oh, we accidentally touched hands, or oh, we accidentally fell and on top of each other, oh gosh. And with Shio, you know, with the bubbly personality that Shio is, you know, it makes things really, really funny. But then what we see with Akari, it's kind of different. It's a lot of bickering, it's a lot of them hating each other, you know, not being able to stand each other. But then there's some surprise cute moments, and sometimes, you know, one of them kind of lets their true emotions and feelings out sometimes, and it kind of gets like, oh wait, is something gonna happen here? And then we go back to bickering because again, Akari's a tsundere, so obviously, you know, they're like, that's just what's gonna happen. So it's interesting to see the two different dynamics of their relationships, because obviously the two different stereotypes, I guess, of these romance animes. Then we get introduced to our third challenger, who is Runako. She comes back, I guess, from overseas, and she was a childhood friend of these three as well. She also lived close to them, and she's a year younger than them, so they treat her kind of like the little sister of the group. And she is very kid coded. You know, they definitely, you know, kind of, you know, childified her with her voice and the taste in things that she has, and she ends up having to live with EU because again, she wants to go to their high school next year, and so his parents, or EU's mom, took them in. And we also see that, you know, EU kind of treats her like a little sister, and Runako kind of sees EU a little bit like more of an older brother. But then when she comes back and sees like he's grown up and sees the way he acts, she kind of starts to develop a little bit more of an actual crush and feelings on him, and also is kind of, well, I don't want to say unashamedly, but she's kind of a freak inside, which I really don't know how to feel about them making this the younger sister character the freaky one. I don't know how I feel about it. Like even in front of Shio and Akari when they all reunite, she like tries things. It tries to get you to see her kind of in like a different light, which she tries to basically the entire show, not being freaky all the time, but like trying to get AU kind of feel like to see like, hey, I'm an actual girl now. I'm not just like your little sister ish thing, you know. And I appreciated her at first because it's like, okay, someone's actually doing something in this show. She was actually trying at first, but then I feel like she kind of backs off, and I think over time she kind of gets less and less involved in like the romance stuff, and they kind of put her more in like the background as just like a funny character that's just kind of there a couple times. And so at first it's like really ramping up the romance, and we think like, oh, is she actually gonna like I think we never really feel like Runako's actually going to win this battle of who's gonna be the one to take EU. And that's also on EU's side too, because EU again sees her as like that's like basically my little sister, you know. And there's sometimes romance, but it's not really much as others. Around like halfway through the show, that's when we start to see potentially more progress being made with Shio, wanting to kind of take steps forward. Like we see Shio get a little bit more aggressive at certain points, being like, hey, let's go to the library and all that stuff. She wants to invite him to the firework festival to watch just the two of them. And you can see Shio is really starting to go kind of all in on like her crush on you. Because at first it was like, yeah, it's a little crush, whatever. But now she's starting to fall a little bit deeper and deeper into it. And so now she wants to kind of take step forwards, but she can't really find, but she always gets kind of nervous and scared at the end. It kind of like, I don't want to say chicken out, but I mean, understandably, obviously there's like big moments for her. And then eventually Akari gets her kind of moments as well, where there's one time where they get left behind, her and AU, on a trip. And so they have to kind of stay together, and they have a big moment there where Akari kind of sees like, oh dang, he still is the really nice guy that wants to be, not leave us alone and all that stuff in the inside. It's just he comes off now as very cold because he kind of wants to. Because again, he doesn't want to really reveal his true feelings because like, I don't want to make it weird. And so Akari kind of shows another side of her because she honestly isn't really, I guess, inside of Tsundere either. She always kind of feels like, dang, why do I keep yelling at him? Why do I always do this? I want to be more honest than ever. But then it eventually just turns into yelling and being the Tsundere type, because that's just, I guess, naturally who she is, but she doesn't really know that yet. And so we see moments between those two where it's like, dang, like these two are really getting along together, where they're both, obviously they have their bickering and stuff, but they also are really, really nice to each other. And I don't know, it's a right fit. You know what I mean? But she doesn't really want to take the next step until she figures out, Shio and her have a talk, and then they figure out, okay, they both have a crush on EU. And so I think Shio kind of, helps her and gives her advice and kind of makes Akari be like, okay, now I'm going to try to take the next steps as well and really fall deeper into this crush that I have. And then the firework festival is supposed to be a big, big moment where both of them want to watch the fireworks run, because there's a rumor that when you watch the fireworks, when you kiss the person you like at the firework festival together, you're going to end up together, one of those type of rumors. So now both of them are kind of like trying to see, okay, who's going to be the one to win this battle and who's going to be the one that he's going to pick. And so eventually they both say to him like, okay, meet me here or meet me here. Wherever you go, that's the girl you're going to basically pick and watch the fireworks with alone. And so you're like, dang, who's he going to pick? Because in my head, I was like, okay, he's either going to pick Shio, a third party, like Runako, or someone's going to come in and steal because Runako wasn't there, or he's not going to watch with any of them. Because I was like, Akari's probably not going to win because she's the second girl. And obviously Shio, main girl, they usually pick her to win. But eventually they don't end up watching the fireworks together because of Shio. Because Shio gets distracted because she's way too nice and starts helping all the other people, that eventually she like has to help a pregnant lady who's going into labor. She like helps her go to the hospital in the Uber, and all of a sudden she's 30 minutes away from the firework festival and isn't going to make it back in time. And so she tells him like, hey, you guys should watch it together, I'll just stay over here alone. And then she eventually ends up realizing and getting kind of sad about it, because it's like, dang, he's been with me forever and for the longest, and now I'm not gonna be there for him or anything. But then Shio and Akari, I'm not Shio, EU and Akari eventually end up, meeting up with them and not watching the fireworks, and they all just kind of hang out. And so again, when you think progress is gonna be made, you think, direction is gonna be taken, we go back to zero, which is okay because I guess all three of them were able to hang out together. So I guess that's a good part of it. And then finally enter our final challenger, Haru. Haru enters. I think she only enters for the last like 3-ish episodes of the show, or 3 or 4 episodes of the show. Yeah, she comes back, and at first we don't know who she is. She like sees EU in passing and kind of talks to him, and EU's kind of like, who the hell are you? And all the other girls like, who the hell are you? But eventually we figure out that she was a childhood friend of more EU as well. Not really all of them. I mean, they all knew who they were, but I think her and EU were more like the close friends, because back then in the day they were like go to the park together and hoop and do all that stuff, and they actually all thought that she was a boy because she was like the rambunctious tomboy type vibe. But then they actually figure out, oh wait, no, she's actually a girl, and not a boy, and that changes basically everything about what we think of Hadou. But honestly, I really did appreciate Hadou a lot in the show. She's kind of very full of energy, always kind of doing something, but she also doesn't really give and like care. Like, she will say what she needs to say and everything like that. And also, she's the one that kind of progresses things. Like, I feel like with her in, we progressed a lot more than without her, because she is always asking questions. She kind of senses it from the start, like, okay, there's something going on here, let's figure it out. She's always pressing Hadou, like, hey, I'm not pressing Hadou, she's Hadou. Pressing EU, alright, so all these names are end with ooh, it messes with me. She always like pressing EU, like, hey, so which one do you like, huh? What are you doing here? You got to do something about this. Why are you hesitating so much? And she's always like pressing him, like letting things down in the air, and she is like kind of like been like the mediator between all of these three, kind of being in this weird situation of like, will they, won't they, who's gonna be, not wanting to step on tails, being hesitant, not being the true selves. And Howard's just in the middle and just be like, okay, no, we gotta make something happen here because this is getting weird. You gotta do something, man, because her and EU are supposed to be like this. We're supposed to be really close. She also ends up kind of developing a crush on Iru, but I honestly do feel like she doesn't really want to. Like, it just kind of happens naturally. Like, I feel like she doesn't really want to and doesn't go into the relationship being like, yeah, I want him. But eventually it just ends up happening because they have cute moments together. But I really did appreciate Haru. I think she's probably maybe my favorite character in this show, because she actually, you know, has sense, and she actually like progresses things, asks questions, presses others, and kind of makes the story kind of rapidly increase, and rapidly things happen when Haru's around. So I appreciated that a lot. One of the bigger moments in the show that really kind of surprised me a lot throughout of it was, so eventually at one point Haru and Iru accidentally kiss, and it gets really weird with the other girls. They're like, we like them and we want to kiss them too. And Shio, it gets in her head a lot that she keeps thinking about it, and eventually she ends up kissing EU as well randomly after a run where she just sees him and just kisses him out of whatever. And both of them are very kind of like in their own head, but outside they're portraying it like Shio sees EU and kind of thinks, okay, EU doesn't care about it at all, and EU kind of sees Shio and she's like, oh, she doesn't care about it at all, she's being extra cheery and everything like that. But both of them in their own heads are very kind of like, oh my god, what's happening? We did that, what's next? Like, what are we doing? And you can tell both of them are very, odd about it. And then they also get picked on to help out with, like, I think the sports festival thing, so they both got to work together, and both of them are like trying to bring up the topic because it's like, we need to talk about this, but none of them are gonna do it. So it's just them kind of just, it's very, very weird, and everybody around them sees that. And so Akari actually helps out Shio and is like, hey, talk to him, even though she doesn't really know about the kids, but she's kind of like trying to inspire him, like, hey, talk to him, you've always been able to get through things, you guys are good friends. And Haru ends up talking to EU and is like, hey, if you keep hesitating or everything like that, this friendship and all that stuff, eventually it's gonna go away, so you got to do something about it. And it kind of both clicks in their heads, and so they both get inspired to like talk to each other, and their talk actually ends up in them being like, hey, let's go back to just being friends. Which really surprised me, because I was like, dang, I thought we were maybe going towards a romantic relationship, because obviously we both could tell they both like each other very, very much, but they end up going back to being friends, and they're both kind of okay with it. And so I kind of was like, huh, that's interesting. I guess they both kind of said, you know what, there's a big friend group, we're very close friends, we're both precious to each other, mean a lot to each other, let's go back to friends, because being more could really complicate things. Which actually, at first I was kind of like, dang, really, is that okay? But then after seeing them after, I was like, you know what, I don't mind that at all. They kind of both realized, you know what, maybe this isn't the right thing for us right now. And so I kind of was like, okay, okay. If you guys are happy with it, that's fine then. And after this moment, EU, I think, maybe has like a realization about things or whatever, because eventually during the day of the sports festival, he turns into like, they call him gross mode, where he's very kind of cheery about everything. You know, he's not really being his normal self. Everything's just happy and cheery, and everything's like, oh my god, my precious friends that I love so much, not in a weird way, but in a platonic friend way. Let's cherish every moment together. And all the girls are like, why are you acting like this? You're acting very, like, this isn't EU. You know, this isn't the kind of cold, kind of really, you know, like stubborn, maybe a little bit. Like, this isn't that Eve. This is a weird person, and they all don't like it. But then eventually we learn that Eve's kind of trying to do this because he kind of is like finally trying to compartmentalize feelings of like, okay, they're all my childhood friends. I can't see them in that different light, so I'm just gonna strictly throw them into the friend like zone, basically. Like, they're just straight up friends to me. I don't feel any other feelings toward them romantically or, you know, sexually or anything like that. Purely my friends, you know. But then eventually Runako, actually, who at this point wasn't really a big factor in the show at all, helps him kind of snap out of it, because she's kind of, you know, once one flirting with him and putting moves on or whatever, and also kind of makes him see like, hey, you know, like, who your old self was okay. It's okay to have those type of feelings for us, you know. And she's the one that kind of snaps him out of it, and he realizes, oh, you know what? It is okay to have those. I'm not just gonna put them in the friend box. You know, I can look at them maybe in different ways or anything. And so eventually, at the end, he kind of just accepts what this mess is, because eventually it's like, you know, they do like the scavenger hunt, and his thing is like someone you really, really, really love, and he grabs all four of them and brings them, and he's like, yeah. And they ask him like, do you love all these, really, really love all these four? And he's like, I don't know. What I do know is that these are all my precious friends that I cherish and appreciate a lot. And he kind of like at the end realizes like, you know what? Hey, I'm confused. I don't really know what this is, but you know what? I'm gonna be honest with myself and honest with all of them. And like, I love them and cherish them as friends. Do I like them a little bit more than that? Maybe I do. We're gonna see what happens. And so basically, by the end of the show, we haven't made really any romantic progress. The only progress we really have made is like, let's be honest now, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, so he never really ends up picking one. No one wins at the end of the day. No one girl wins. We're still kind of in this mess of like, we kind of like each other, but we don't really like each other. We don't really know, but we're all friends. Now we just added two more girls to the group. So take that what you will as a W or an L. Overall, at the end of the day, this show was a show. To be completely honest with you, I don't really know how I feel about it. I really don't. Like, usually I have like, oh, this is great, or oh, this is terrible. Like, usually it's like one way or the other. But right now I'm kind of like in this weird middle-ish zone where like I didn't love I didn't love the show. I can't say it's one of my favorites. Do I hate it though? I wouldn't say I hate it. I would put it somewhere in like the, if I had to give it a grade from A to F, I would put it in maybe like a C minus D plus tier, because it's like there's a lot of things that get you annoyed with it. Got me annoyed with it at least. Like AU kind of being very like, hey, can you take a hint at some point in time, please? And again, every time we feel like progress is being made, we kind of go, we take a step forward, then we take a step back. We kind of stay at zero the entire time. With him and with the girls. A lot of just randomness and weirdness. I did get invested. I'll be honest with you. I did get invested, so it has to get some sort of credit from me, because if I wasn't invested, I probably wouldn't have finished watching the show. I wouldn't be making this video right now. So it has some sort of investment just because of how crazy it was, and how just like I really wanted to see how this is going to end. So it gives you something there, and I'm sure there's definitely some things you can enjoy and find in it. But overall, it was it was a show. Also, again, I'm not really, I don't know, I said this before in a couple of videos. I'm not really a harem guy. I'm not a guy that's like one guy, five girls. Oh my god, like I don't really gravitate towards those shows a lot. So I guess that's also part of it for me. But also at the end of the day, This is just my opinion. I always recommend you guys go out and you go watch the show for your own selves and formulate your own opinions. I'm just a random dude talking about it. So I mean, there's definitely could be some fun things that you enjoy about it for sure. Like definitely. Again, I don't think it's a horrible show. Me personally, I didn't love it. I didn't love it for me. But yeah, overall, at the end of the day, I'll give it one, a middle thumb, one very neutral thumb. But yeah, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like always, trying to strive for one full video per week. So keep the eye out on the content because we're going to continue to try to do it. If you like the video, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. Leave a comment down below as well about whatever you want. It just helps out the algorithm. So liking, commenting would really be cool. And if you like the content, hit subscribe. If you want to keep up with romance anime, like hearing about romance anime, like hearing me talk about romance anime, or just want to support the channel, subscribing to the channel would be very much appreciated. Also, check out my main channel, Everyday Hoops, links in the description below. We talk about basketball over there, literally the exact opposite of what we do over here. So if you like basketball, know someone likes basketball, let them know about the channel down below. We've been going crazy over there. I've been putting in a lot of work over there, so go check it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.